hand it over, pin her video. Hello.
Hey, how
Hello.
you doing?
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to completely hand it over to you so you can introduce yourself and what you're here to talk about. I started a slide deck, y'all. This was a topic that was requested. So I'm sure they have lots and lots of questions. Okay.
All right, great. Well, I'm happy to be with y'all this evening. My name is Geraldine Convento. I am from the San Francisco Bay Area, Oakland, California to be exact. And today I'm going to be talking with y'all about SEO. My personal background is that I started doing web development when I was 13 and on America Online. I don't know if any of y'all still remember that. And in 2011, I invented my own SEO system. So I put together a little presentation for y'all. I'm going to share my screen. It's a little box. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to keep the presentation really short because I want to make sure that I'm able to answer your questions at the end as it relates to your business. But this is 3 things that you can do today to improve your online presence. And so, as I mentioned before, I created my own SEO system back in 2011 and have been using it with clients since. It's called the SEO 7. And one thing about SEO and how the algorithms have changed over time is that it's about so much more than having the right words. These days, it's a lot about what your website visitors are experiencing on your website and how you're showing up outside of your website too. So let's get into the actual tips. Before that, one thing I want to mention is, why is SEO important? There's a lot of people who say, oh, do I really need SEO for my website, or do I not? My answer to that is always that it really depends on your business. There's a lot of different factors. How do you get your clients? What type of information do they need from you? How competitive is your industry? Not everyone needs SEO, but I personally believe that a lot of people need to know the methods because it builds context and it's not only relevant to your website. These days, a lot of social media is actually implementing SEO techniques to their algorithms. So if you know at least the high level aspects of SEO, you can definitely change with the times as all of these different social media platforms become more and more competitive in terms of promoting your business. So as I mentioned on the slide, it's everywhere. It's not just on your website. They're starting to implement it into LinkedIn, Instagram, all of the different platforms. And it's important to start now because it works over time. It's not something that just happens overnight. So my first tip is that you really have to know where you are today, because in order to be the most authoritative person in your field, you have to know where you're starting so you can measure and see if you're actually making progress or how you can improve. So there's 3 different methods that are my favorite to track analytics. And the first one is Google Analytics. And that's typically used for how much traffic is coming to your website in a particular period of time, whether they're new or returning visitors, also how much time they're actually spending on your website. And one of the most important features to me is what are they actually doing when they get there? They have a really cool section of Google Analytics called Behavior Flow that will actually tell you when most people land on this particular page they go to, and it shows the path of which pages are more important for them or where they go. And why that's important is because it could dictate exactly where you're putting important information. So if they're totally missing certain pages that you feel like they should see, you can move some of that content to these other pages that they care more about. The next one is Google Search Console, and this will help tell you how you're showing up on Google. It'll tell you all of the words that your website shows up for in organic search engine results, and on an average what your position is. So for example, if you were to Google me and for like SEO or something like that, it would tell me exactly what position on Google, like what page that I'm going to show up for. So the reason why this is useful is because then I can look at that and say, wow, I'm ranking for like typically second, third page, like position number 10. I really want to get to number 1. Let me see what everybody else is doing and what I can do to improve on my website so I can get that ranking up. It's just a great measurement tool to see your progress over time, just like the other that I mentioned. The last one is alexa.com. And when we talk about alexa.com, we're not talking about the device that you ask what time it is or to play a song for you. It's basically Google Analytics for enterprise. Enterprise companies use it, they pay for it, and it's kind of like their measurement tool. However, there's a free option on there if you look on the bottom right, where you can type in either your competitors or your website, and it'll tell you how you rank. So what alexa.com does is it ranks the top websites across the net. So they have their own algorithm and ranking criteria, but basically if you even find your website on there, what you want to do is aim for being 1 million or less. Anything that's lower numbers is better. So for example, any website that you find on there that's ranking 1 million or less is considered authoritative within that particular industry. And usually there's a mix of different factors that dictate this, whether they're in the press or different article mentions across the net, how many visits they're getting to their site, whether their site is optimized with keywords. There's a lot of different factors. However, if you work on your SEO and apply even basic methods of it, then you can actually get onto this site and know where you're at against your competitors. The next thing is actually see what your competitors are ranking for. So there are ways to see what keywords are associated with them. Because I know I talk to a lot of business owners and they say, like, I have an idea of what I think I should be found for. But sometimes looking at your competitors, especially the ones who have invested in a lot of marketing and SEO, is really great. So I have a partnership with SEMrush, who's one of the top aggregating websites for search engine marketing. And usually they give people a 7-day trial for their system. I asked them if we could do 14 since I teach SEO classes. And so what I did is, if you go to this link, and Chrissy's going to share the slide deck with you as well. If you go to this link and register, you can get a 14-day trial. Just make sure you cancel within that 14 days if you don't want your credit card to be charged. And I also gave a video tutorial of how to look up your competitors' keywords. So it could be really useful information if you want ideas of how to improve your SEO as well. And the last thing here is one of the most by far overlooked things. Like even larger websites who invest a lot of money on marketing don't really do this. And it's photo naming conventions. So there are a few ways that the Google algorithms understand context of what a website's about. There's headings, links. There's also anchor text, which means on other websites, how they're linking your website. There's a whole bunch of like really technical things, but a really simple way that you can optimize your site is to actually make sure that you're renaming your photos before you upload them. Traditionally, when you take a photo with your camera, it'll be called like JPEG, IMG_039 or something like that, .jpeg. You don't want to keep it like that. What you want to do is make sure that you have context in the name. So let me give you some examples. So include the photo context, the keyword or phrase, your company, and location, if location is relevant to your particular business. So instead of naming my photo image 039 or whatever the camera named it, or even Geraldine-Convento, I would change it to Geraldine-Convento-website-SEO-strategist-SF-bay-area. And yes, you do need all the dashes, because every time you put dashes between a file name, it tells Google that that's a keyword by itself. So some people actually do this, but they will like group their keywords all in one thing. Like they might say beauty salon, San Francisco, and there's no dashes in between. Google's going to relate to that as if it's one word and not separate. So it's okay to have really long naming conventions just like that. And okay, those were my 3 tips. I really want to make sure that there's time for people to ask questions as it relates to your business. So I'm ready when you are. And I'm going to check in the chat just in case. Okay, any questions as it relates to your business?
What do you want? If you want, we can definitely go through and answer some of these questions, like, you know, what the type of business and what they sell in the platform. I know everyone, I did have one question or a follow-up question that I wanted to ask real quickly, because you mentioned this, and it's something that I believe as well as SEO not being for everyone. And I wanted you to elaborate quickly on who isn't it for?
It isn't for any businesses that typically gain clients by referral. So there are some businesses that have referral relationships so deep that their website is simply just for information. It's just a credibility check. So in that situation, I usually wouldn't invest in SEO. But if it's a scenario where it's beneficial for you to be found organically through a search online, or if you're looking to build your thought leadership or like your web authority, or gain more traffic for sales, then that's absolutely a scenario where you would want SEO.
Love that. I like the way you put that for sure. Rhonda, did you have a question? I see you're unmuted.
Yes, hold on. I don't know what I pushed. Hold on.
If
I'm learning
you
this phone.
guys have a question, just to give her context, if you can tell her, you know, of course, your name's there, but like what type of business you have and what you're selling, so she can have a context.
Okay, my name is Rhonda, and my business name is Got to Go Fitness. And what I will be selling is short, fun, effective workouts for women 30 and over. I'm still working on my website. So my question was, I just wanted another example when you said about when you download the image and you rename it. So for example, instead of the photo being image number 1,
right,
mine would be, I would say Got to Go Fitness. I would all that, and you put dashes. Is that what you said? And then
yeah.
How would I rename it?
So you're mentioning that it's fitness videos, is that right?
Yes,
Okay,
fitness
great.
workout videos. Yes.
Okay, so what you would want to do is include the type of fitness video that it is. So, you know, if it was 30-minute cardio video, you know, you put 30 dash minute dash cardio dash video, and then your business name, but make sure to put the dashes in between anything that to specify that there's spaces between the words. And it's going to be really long, but it's going to be very helpful for you in terms of Google, because Google crawls through the net to look for image names for context. And it's part of the reason why things like Google Images exists, because it searches through all of these different image names. Because if you look at Google, it's kind of like when they talk about World Wide Web, they really mean that. You know, they are looking for all of these ways to like bridge context, and your images and all of your media files across your site is what they use for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think it's a really easy win too. Like you were saying, there's a lot of things that you can do to improve your SEO, but that's something that's a super easy win.
Yeah. And the only time where it could be kind of difficult is if you have tons of photos uploaded to your site already. And a lot of people will ask me, can I just change the title on the back end? Like, you can, but it'll be more effective if you download and re-upload them.
Yeah, I was aware of the title, like the alt text and all that in the back end, but not so much like the actual image name.
Yeah.
So that's time consuming, but it's less time consuming than some of the other things you have to do. So
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you could always split it up. You know, you don't have to do it all in one sitting.
or you can pay someone else to do it too. I
Right.
mean, that's a pretty easy, like, data entry type of task. So
Mhm.
what other questions do you guys have? Feel free to unmute. Hey, Angela. Hey, Christina. Was everything clear? Do you guys understand what SEO is and what some tips you can do to increase it or improve it?
I joined late, so I'm not sure. Sorry.
That's okay.
No worries.
That's okay. I'll definitely make sure the recording's available, but if you want to go over like a quick high-level view of it.
Yeah, sure. So basically what we were talking about earlier today was that, you know, SEO is everywhere. You know, it's not just on our websites anymore. They're starting to integrate it into social media. The back end of everything, any type of application has a database, and there's a function that searches through it. So that way you can find information. So I feel like even if you don't choose to apply SEO to your website, it's really important to know of it or know the basics, because more and more we're going to see that, especially through the social media platforms that we continue to use. And I actually see a question in the chat, which is, what is Google penalty in regards to SEO? That's a great question. So Google has the ability to take websites off of its search. And the reason why I created my SEO system was because in 2011, a company told me that they were banned from Google and basically taken off. Like they were initially making $100,000 a month through their online sales. And as soon as they got taken off Google, their sales dropped to $50,000 a month, which is a huge impact for them. And so they asked us to do this SEO campaign. And so what we did is we reversed engineered everything that happened and discovered all of these different rules that they broke, because Google has all these different algorithms. And part of it is that you have to be really strategic about how you use keywords. Like back in the day when the internet first started, you used to be able to just throw up hella keywords on your site, didn't have to make sense with none of your content, and you would rank. But every day, more and more websites are being added. There's billions of websites. So it's really important that you make your language on your site conversational. You, act like you're talking to somebody, not just like have a whole bunch of like something that seems like it's being read in a dictionary or encyclopedia. Like, nah, you have to have that brand voice. It makes a difference. It makes sure that your text doesn't seem plagiarized and that you're not copy pasting your exact same text everywhere across the net, because it looks at that type of stuff. There are things that's like duplicate content. There's spamming on different forums and things like that. There's a lot of different rules and nuances that Google looks at to understand if a website is credible and if they're actually just spam. I mean, unfortunately, these days, there's a lot of companies, especially overseas, that create spammy sites for the sake of ranking. So it messed it up for a lot of us, especially, up and coming business owners. So you don't want to get banned from Google.
No, you do not. No, you do not. They made it too easy, and they definitely been more strict on it for sure. You used to be able to just like paste a bunch of keywords and just rank, and it doesn't work like that anymore.
Right. There's another question here. It says, you mentioned brand voice. What are other ways we can ensure we are creating SEO friendly content? So with the emergence of semantic search, a lot of people use their phone or they'll use their Alexa devices to actually search the net, is that write your content in a way where you're answering questions. And when I say brand voice, do it in a way where you're just talking like as if it's your original content. Like don't, gone are the days where we're writing like we're writing for a brochure. Think about like how you want to communicate to your audience in a way as if they're actually going to want to buy your services. It's authentic. So Brand voice means, identify all the different ways that you want to present yourself. Like what's your linguistic style? Are you talking casually throughout your site? Are you talking professionally? Because all that matters. Like if you have disjointed text throughout the site, like I have a lot of people come to me after they've worked with several marketers, and they've worked like 5 different copywriters, and all the text is worded differently. Like the nature of how text is written really does make a difference for as these algorithms are searching through the site. So the simplest you can make your content to answer questions as if you're talking to them, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point, because if you think about it, that's how people use Google anyway. I use the examples to my clients is like, if you type in like something like a tie or something like that, what comes up is like blog post about like how to tie a tie, or how to do this with a tie, like, or the different ways that you can style ties. Like that's what comes up, and that's what they're looking for anyway. So it's important to like transition your content to that for sure. Understanding your target market and then answering their questions is an easy way to rank on SEO, sounds like.
Yeah, and another tip is that if you're concerned about your content and whether you feel like it's going to be like rank friendly, there are plagiarism checkers online, and you can just Google it. And if you've written something that's kind of technical in nature, and you want to make sure it's not similar to what anybody else is typing onto their websites, you can paste it in there, and it'll tell you if it seems like it's plagiarized content. Like to you, it might not be because you didn't copy nobody else. But if you don't know how to exactly explain it in a way that's in your voice or just natural, you might want to put it in there first and then change some words so that it passes the test.
You said to put, how did you say to figure out if something is plagiarized? You said to type it in?
Just go to Google and type in Plagiarism Checker.
Oh, okay.
And there's a number of sites that, like Grammarly is a good one. And, just take like a paragraph at a time and just put it in there. And usually it's just think about it as if like, is what I'm describing, does it seem too generic? Like, does it seem like something I've heard before? Let me put it in here just in case, and then swap out a few words until you pass the test.
Interesting. I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah. It's also extra useful if you're the type of writer where you have an idea and then you research multiple sites to get ideas, and you kind of like remix what they're saying. You can actually remix what they're saying, but put it in here and make sure that it actually seems not plagiarized.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Love it. All right. Any other questions before we wrap? Okay. Last question. She's got one more question.
Okay, cool. Okay. Should we use tools like Keyword Planner or Keyword Magic tool? I'm assuming you're referring to like Google Keyword Planner. Keyword Magic, I'm not so familiar with, but I use SEMrush, which has Keyword Magic on it. I use SEMrush, but that's because that's what we use as an SEO company. I say use all the tools. I mean, Google Keyword Planner is probably the most basic of everything because they're not going to give you all the answers. It's just designed that way, but Moz is a good one. SEMrush is a good one. There's a couple like top industry leaders in this. I would use those to get ideas, and especially if you're using something like SEMrush or Moz, sometimes what happens is they tell you, like, let's say if I type in a keyword like beauty, it'll tell me the top sites for that particular word, which means they're the most authoritative for it. That's a good way for you to get ideas of like how they're writing and how they're informing their consumers about their business, and then you can also model your content after that, but without plagiarism.
All right.
Yeah.
Says thank you. So how can we reach out if we have further questions? I know they're probably going to think of some after the fact, but.
Okay, cool. So on this slide deck on the very last page, I do have let me see here, my contact information on it, and Chrissy has a copy of the deck, so you can either reference it or download it if you need to. I'm also going to be launching my next SEO course probably within the month. So I'll definitely let you all know when that comes out. And if you're interested in it, or you want to be on the mailing list for when we release all the information, drop your email in the chat. And I'm also offering $150 off for folks who are participating in this mastermind. So definitely reach out to me if you're interested in that, and I'll let you know.
Beautiful. I'm gonna grab your slide deck right now and throw it inside of the Slack room, guys. So if you want to take advantage of that, you definitely can. Just trying to grab it. But thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
it doesn't look like we have any other questions. Guys, I don't have any announcements. I just have a few things I need to touch base with some of the members that we talked about earlier before this call or before the workshop. But yeah, thank you again so much. I learned a lot as well. And if you, she's also in Slack, guys. So if you guys think of something after the fact, feel free. And if you watch the recording, if you joined late and you watch the recording and you have further questions, make sure to just ping her in Slack. Okay.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. We'll
Bye.
talk soon.